Hey there folks, it's me, TheTacticalBrit, and I'm on Jensen's range for the first time in a while. It's been a while since I've been able to showcase an update of Squad, which has been relatively substantial, and that's really cool. Now you will have to forgive me, this is a live commentary. I'm bound to make some mistakes, but screw it, let's get into the mix and let me explain to you everything cool that's coming to Update 21. Now for those of you who are unaware, Squad has introduced a brand new roadmap. This brand new roadmap introduces fantastic new assets like new factions, new weapons, new vehicles, new everything effectively, including lots of background changes to the game. If you've been out of the loop for Squad for a while, I highly recommend you check it out, because there are 2 to 3 new factions coming by the end of the year in 2020, and also lots of new changes as well. It's really exciting, and probably the most exciting time to be a Squad player in a very long time, so I really do recommend you check it out. I have a link in the description below. So what of Beta 21 then? Beta 21 introduces some new weapons. Technically it's just a... So what of Beta 21 then? Beta 21 introduces a new weapon, some new assets to the Russian faction, which makes it a much more modern faction, and in general just a more interesting Red 4 faction, as well as some optimizations and changes in the background which I think are incredibly cool and make the life of Squad just a hell of a lot easier. Now, there are lots of interesting changes, but I'm going to start with the assets. Let's talk about this. This is the SVD-M sniper rifle. Well, I suppose it's technically a marksman rifle, but you get the gist. It's a big meaty boy that takes place over the original SVD, which was a super old, super clunky, probably like, I don't even know, like 1970s? 60s? I don't even know. It's a really old rifle. And this is the modern variant of that. This is a 2018 variant. It has a nice black finish to it, and introduces a bipod, a much more improved scope, and makes the marksman kit in the Russian faction much more lethal, and very much brings it on par with the American faction. In fact, in many ways makes it a superior marksman kit to the American marksman kit. So how does it do that, you say? Well, let's check it out. For starters, when we bipod this up, which again, bipod, nice new feature of the SVD, makes it much more stable and much more useful over range, we see that this actually has an improved magnification over the M110 SAS or the M110 SAS, depends how you want to say it, in the American faction. It has an improved magnification, and also I find the reticle to be a little bit less in your face, quite more minimalistic, which I think is nice, and also it actually helps you shoot targets over range. So if I aim this up in the sky, you can see that the bottom right corner... If I aim this up in the sky, you can see that the bottom right corner illustrates the actual drop of the bullets, and also that the left and right sides of the reticle actually illustrate how you need to aim in order to hit targets that are moving at range. So, for example, let's have a look at this target who is, 400 meters away. Now, if you see where the 4 hash lines up with the furthermost character to the left, you can see that I would have to make sure that the character aligns with that hash in order to hit the target. So at 400 meters, if that character was running to the left and I fired now, he would hit that target if I was 0 to 400 meters, and he would actually collide with that bullet at that range. This is a really cool addition and actually allows you to hit moving targets more impressively with a sniper rifle or marksman rifle than I think we've ever really seen in this game, and I think it's incredibly handy to have. To give you guys a good idea of just how this sniper rifle slash marksman rifle, I'm just going to call it a marksman rifle or DMR, to give you a good idea of just how powerful it is, I'm going to try and hit a shot out here from 1,000 meters away. It's pretty impressive. It's a seriously impressive marksman rifle, and I'm just going to give you another 0 or 100 meters here just to give you an idea of the kind of implications you could expect to see out in the field, at much closer ranges as well. It's pretty impressive, has a relatively rapid fire element to it, but one thing I did notice actually is if you fire more rapidly with this rifle, the kickback actually progressively makes you more inaccurate, even when you're bipoded, which I think is a nice feature, and stops it being spammed like the American variant sometimes does get happened to. I know that didn't make much sense in English, but I'm sure you understand what I was saying. Again, overall, a really impressive change to the game. I think this is a really great marksman rifle that actually makes the Red 4 factions and Russia in general a much more modern military variant, and something that I think most people are just going to appreciate about the game. Very powerful, hard-hitting, and it's very modern too, with a nice scope and a nice bipod. You can't really go wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next up are the two variants of the Tigr armored car, or Tigr armored car. It's TIGR, so say however you please, really. These are open top and actually command controlled in terms of both this turret being an automated system, much like the Crows that you see on the MRAP, and this one being an open top gun that you can be vulnerable to when firing. They're two different variants. This one comes with 600 ammunition, and this one comes with 300 ammunition, which is a little change between the two, and that allows it to be a quick reactionary force vehicle, much like the MRAP is presently for the American faction. It's a nice upgrade. Some of them have slightly more seats than the other, so for example this one here I believe has 9 seats with only 300 ammo, and this one here has 8 seats with 600 ammo, of course with the vulnerability of the top turret. They're really cool. They allow for a more modern fast reaction force for the Russians, including of course the actual ammunition as well, which is great in terms of just being able to resupply friendlies and whatnot. It's a nice addition. Another really awesome thing about this is that it actually comes with smoke launchers as well. So if you find yourself in a tricky situation, you can pop smoke. It's something that doesn't really happen in any of the other vehicles that aren't Russian, and something that the MRAP certainly doesn't have, which is pretty cool. Now we have the NSV machine gun. This is actually a cord HMG with 600 ammo and plenty of magazines, as you can see. And I just want to give you an idea of just how much damage this thing does. So, pretty impressive. You know, we are talking about a fast reactionary force vehicle with smoke launchers, 600 ammunition for friendlies to resupply off of, which is going to be incredibly useful for hats and lats, and a very fast vehicle as well. It actually handles relatively similarly, I'd say, to something like the MRAP. It also has 2 smoke launcher parts, which is pretty cool as well. And this thing moves relatively rapidly. It has a max speed, I think, around the same as the MRAP. And I think ultimately, with the inclusion of the smoke, it intends to be a direct competitor to the MRAP. And it gives the Russians a quick reactionary force vehicle, which is something that they've never really possessed before. Now we also have the sort of Crows variant of this, which has the HMG, which is an automated control in the back seat, and that just means that you won't have to deal with being peskily shot by snipers and other vehicles and other things in general. And again, same kind of damage model here, and this one does pretty serious damage to vehicles and has magnification as well, which is pretty cool. And you can see in the magnification where the bullets actually splash, in the sense that 100 is the very top of the reticle, much like the MRAP, and 900 and so on and so forth. You get the rough idea. You also get a good idea of the actual degree bearing in the top left corner, as well as the elevation / non-elevation of it. You also get a range as well in the top right corner of the reticle too, so I can tell that this is 83 meters away, and you can tell even further distances, of course. Again, super powerful thing, can take out something that is going to be incredibly useful for the Russian faction, and in my opinion just makes them much more interesting. This also comes equipped with the smoke launchers, except these are fired by the people who are actually on the gun, whereas the initial one I showed you is fired by the person who is in the driver's seat. So if I take out this vehicle, suddenly I'm being RPG'd from the middle of nowhere. I switch over to my launchers and pop smoke. Really cool, a nice addition, I think something that very many people are going to be interested in. There have also been some other pretty serious changes to the update that are worth mentioning. For starters, the Canadian sniper rifle has been introduced to a one-shot kill at more or less any range, regardless of what limb or part of the body it hits, bringing it in more line with what we expect from a bolt-action rifle, and not something that just feels like another marksman rifle, which is pretty cool. And this will also pave the way for the Mosin and other, general bolt-action rifles to be just as powerful. The cost of ammunition for the same sniper rifle, the C14 Timberwolf, has also been increased from 2 to 15, which is pretty rough, but it makes sense considering the damage and lethality of the weapon. There has also been a 2% speed reduction across the board for all infantry in the game to make movement more punishing in terms of being caught out in the open. And one thing worth really mentioning is the audio menu. There is now a full audio system where you can actually select what you want to use as an output device and what you want to use as an input device. You can also now change things like the ability to adjust the command voice balance to the left or right ear, or the squad voice balance to the left or right ear. And that's a really cool feature that I think is incredibly handy and is going to make listening to comms much easier for those who are involved in it. And it also means that you can have priority speaking as well. This is a really cool feature because it means that there'll be a priority speaker such as the commander or a squad leader, and when they speak, the drowning out of audio information happens to everybody else. So, for example, if you're squad leading and you've got other squad leaders chatting to you and the commander says something, the commander will have priority voice and everybody else will be slightly faded out. And the same applies if you're in command chat or if you're in squad leading chats. If you're in a squad and the squad leader's talking, they will have priority speaking over individual players within your squad. And this is really cool. It's something that I think is awesome, and you can actually adjust whether or not you want this balance to only apply for squad leaders or just apply in general. Overall, that's about it for Update 21. There are plenty of map fixes and other optimizations and changes they made to maps, but I feel those are the key points that you guys should know about. A really good update, something that I feel is introducing a lot of really cool gear and a lot of really interesting assets into the game, and also something that was needed in terms of making squad leading and commanding a much more manageable task in terms of audio. Thank you guys very much for tuning into this video. It's been me, TheTacticalBrit, and I'll catch you in the next one.